As we are now over halfway through the 2025 college football season, there are some transfers who have honestly not lived up to the hype yet. Obviously, the portal is not a science at this point, but typically if you grab a big name in the transfer portal, they are going to work out for you. But in today's video, I'm going to give 9 examples of players who are hyped up in this year's portal who so far look like they are going to be busts. But before we get started with the video, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's go ahead and get started and talk about some big time transfers who have not lived up to the hype. Okay, so the first guy I want to talk about is AJ Turner. In terms of the transfer portal, Turner was a huge get for the Minnesota Golden Gophers, as he was listed as the number 8 running back, a 4-star, and the 144th overall player in the portal. Going back in time, he ended up coming out of Life Christian Academy in Hampton, Virginia, and was listed as a 2-star recruit. Turner was a part of the class of 2022 and would end up arriving at Marshall. He didn't really do much his first 2 years on campus, but in year 3 in 2024, Turner became a star. He ran the ball over 100 times for 864 yards and 6 touchdowns, and because of that, he obviously became a 4-star transfer and would decide to go to Minnesota. The Golden Gophers have had a lot of success at the running back spot, but this year he is currently 5th on the team in rushing yards. Turner has totaled 16 carries for 64 yards and 1 touchdown, and then to make matters worse, he ended up suffering an injury in week 3 and is out for the rest of the season. This doesn't seem to be a huge loss for Minnesota, as they've had some guys step up behind him, but it's still very sad. He was supposed to be one of the most impactful running backs in this year's portal class, and unfortunately right now, he will go down as a disappointment. The second guy that I want to talk about who has been a bust this year is new LSU wide receiver transfer Nick Anderson. According to 24/7 Sports, he was listed as the number 3 wide receiver and the 9th overall player in the 2025 transfer portal. Nick Anderson is the younger brother of former Oklahoma star Rodney Anderson, and he grew up in Katy, Texas, and was a really good player for there. He ended up originally committing to Oregon, but would end up flipping over to Oklahoma, and Anderson was really good as a true freshman for the Sooners. In 2023, Nick caught 38 passes for 798 yards and 10 touchdowns, but would miss the entire 2024 season because of an injury. This should have been a red flag to scouts, but instead they still decided to list him as a top 10 transfer. He'd end up deciding to go to LSU, who would have to replace a couple of big-time weapons and find some key players for Garrett Nussmeier. So far in 2025, things have not gone according to plan for Nick. He only has 9 catches for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he's not exactly been the impactful receiver that we all thought he would be. He's currently the number 7 target on the team, as guys like Aaron Anderson, Barrion Brown, and Xavion Thomas have all passed him up on the depth chart. For our first quarterback of the day, we're going to talk about North Carolina's Gio Lopez. Lopez was not a big deal going back in time, as he's only a 2-star recruit coming out of James Clemens High School, located in Madison, Alabama. Lopez was decent, but his best offer ended up being South Alabama, where he'd eventually commit to and play. He'd end up taking over as the starter in 2024 for the Jaguars, as he threw for 2,600 yards and 18 touchdowns, while also rushing for about 500 yards and 7 scores on the ground. Because of this, he was a late addition to the 2025 transfer portal and would enroll during the spring window and ended up going to North Carolina. Bill Belichick handpicked him out of the portal, and unfortunately, it's been a mistake that may end up costing him his job. So far in 2025, Gio has struggled horrendously. He's only thrown for 400 yards with 3 touchdowns and 3 picks, and there were some really disastrous performances, including going 4 of 10 for 69 yards against TCU. To give him the benefit of the doubt, Gio has been injured for part of the season, so that has definitely not helped, but combining that with his lackluster play, Gio Lopez and North Carolina have been a huge disappointment, and ultimately will go down as a bust. To me, there might not be a more disappointing player on today's list than Jaden Ott. I've been super high on this guy for quite some time, as Ott was listed as the number 3 running back in this year's portal and the 50th overall prospect. He was supposed to be the go-to guy for the Oklahoma Sooners this year, but so far things have not gone according to plan. Going back in time, Ott was a 4-star recruit coming out of Norco, California, and he was a star for Cal. I mean, this guy was one of the best running backs in the Golden Bears history, as he rushed for over 2,600 yards and 24 touchdowns during his 3 years there. He didn't have a very good 2024 season, but he entered the portal regardless and became a top 50 transfer. Oklahoma was going to pair him alongside John Mateer, but unfortunately, it has not worked out, as so far through over half the season, Ott just has 21 carries for 68 yards and has still not scored a touchdown. He's been passed up on the depth chart by a couple of other players, including freshman Tory Blaylock. I cannot believe this, as I truly thought Ott was going to be a huge deal for them this year, but it's not just him. Both Xavier Robinson and Javonte Barnes have been disappointing, so something is in the water for Oklahoma running backs. Credit needs to be given to Tory Blaylock, but Jaden Ott has been super disappointing, and they spent a lot of money on this guy, and it has not worked out for them. For our second wide receiver of the day, I want to talk about Noah Thomas. I've been hearing about this guy for quite some time, as if he just puts it all together, he could be a surefire first-round NFL draft pick. Unfortunately, that does not look like it's going to happen, as he was listed as the number 8 receiver and the 31st overall player in the 2025 portal. He ended up deciding to go to Georgia, but going back in time, he was a 4-star recruit from Clear Springs High School in Texas and would arrive at Texas A&M. He was pretty solid for them over his 3 years there, as he got better each season. He had 2 touchdowns as a freshman, 5 as a sophomore, and then 8 as a junior. He decided to enter the portal and transfer over to Georgia, where he was hoping to be the feature wide receiver for new quarterback Gunnar Stockton. Unfortunately, through the first half of the season, Thomas only has 4 catches for 54 yards. He still doesn't have a single touchdown, and I have no clue what is going on right now. Georgia isn't exactly a paradise for receivers lately, but still I expected his production to be better than this. It looks like Colby Young, Zachariah Branch, and London Humphreys are getting plenty of targets, but Thomas is buried at the bottom of the depth chart, and I have no clue what's happening. If you are a Georgia fan, let me know down in the comments section below, but Noah Thomas unfortunately will go down as a disappointment right now. We're now going to get to our second quarterback of the day and talk about Zach Calzada from Kentucky. If you're an SEC fan, you've been hearing about Calzada for quite some time, as originally coming out of Georgia, who decided to go to Texas A&M. He infamously helped them beat Alabama in that crazy game in 2021, before then transferring to Auburn where he never played. He ended up salvaging his career at Incarnate Word, where during his 2 seasons there, he ended up passing for over 6,000 yards and over 50 touchdowns. Because of that, Calzada was listed as the number 26 quarterback transfer and a guy who could start at a Power 4 program. Kentucky went out and got him, but unfortunately so far in 2025, things have not gone according to plan, and both of it is his fault and not his fault. He's only completed 25 passes for 234 yards without a touchdown and an interception. Calzada would end up getting injured for them, and he has been listed as probable for a couple of weeks now, but has not been able to get back on the field. It seems that they're trying to get Cutter Boley to step up and be their guy, but Calzada I think will get one more chance on the field to redeem himself, but whether the injury is his fault or not, it still doesn't mean that Calzada has not been a bust for the Cats this year, who desperately needed a better quarterback. For our final running back transfer of the day, we're to talk about Mekhi Hughes. He was a guy I was super high on in the offseason, as after Oregon lost Jordan James to the NFL, it looked like he was going to be their plug-and-play transfer who'd come in and then be a draft prospect himself. Unfortunately, that's not how it's gone. He was ranked as the number 7 running back, a 4-star, and the 117th overall player in the portal, and going back in time, he went to Huffman High School in Alabama and was listed as a 3-star recruit. Hughes would arrive at Tulane, and through his 2 seasons there, he was incredible. I mean, the guy ended up having nearly 3,000 yards and over 20 touchdowns, but unfortunately, it is not translated to success at Oregon. Tulane and Oregon are very different programs, and he just got straight up beat out on the depth chart. True freshmen Dyer Hill Jr. and Jordan Davison both beat him out. Noah Whittington and Jaden Lamar also ended up playing better than him, and because of this, he is now the 5th-string running back and has decided to redshirt for the remainder of the season. I'm sure Dan Lanning told him that he wasn't going to play, and to save his eligibility so he could transfer somewhere else. Honestly, I think that's a pretty good move for him. But man, he was a 4-star transfer, a star at Tulane, and he is not able to get on the field at Oregon. It is that competitive there, and sadly, he will go down as a bust this season. For our last wide receiver, we're to talk about a player by the name of Hykeem Williams. I've been hearing about him for a long time too, as coming into Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Hykeem was actually listed as the number 4 receiver in the country, a 5-star recruit, and the 24th best player in the class of 2023. Hykeem was an athlete who was supposed to help Florida State football figure it out, but unfortunately, he was never really able to make things work while he was in Tallahassee. In total, he had 21 catches for about 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, and for a 5-star recruit, those are not the kind of numbers you expect. He decided to enter this year's transfer portal, and he became the number 32 receiver, a 4-star recruit, and the 165th overall player. He was expected to take on a large role at Colorado this year after they lost 3 of their top guys to the NFL, but unfortunately Hakeem has not been able to figure it out there either. He only has 9 catches for 81 yards through the first half of the season, and he's on pace for a similar season to last year, which wasn't very good. Granted, the quarterback play in Colorado as a whole is not very good this season. Hakeem will go down as a disappointment, as some thought he could take over as the top receiver for the BUSTS this season. It's unfortunate how it hasn't worked out. And finally, the last guy I want to talk about today is quarterback Malachi Nelson. At one point, he was considered the #1 recruit in the country, the future of USC football, and a guy who would surely go off to the NFL. Unfortunately, Malachi has not been able to put things together, as he was listed as the number 38 transfer quarterback this offseason, and he would head over to UTEP in an attempt to save his career. Malachi ended up doing very little while he was at USC, as he completed 1 pass. He transferred to Boise State down to the Group of 5 level to hopefully start, but got beat out by Maddox Madsen and ended up riding the bench while the Broncos went all the way to the college football playoff. Malachi would then enter the portal for a second time and would land on UTEP, a school not known for producing much at the quarterback spot or producing many wins. Malachi would end up winning the starting job to start out the season, and in total so far he's thrown for 1,163 yards with 8 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He has not been able to control the turnovers, and that's why Malachi would end up getting benched for UTEP. I'm not sure what the rest of the season will look like for him, as he could win the starting job back, but he's gotten worse as the season has progressed, as most recently against Louisiana Tech, he ended up throwing for 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and then did nothing against Liberty either. Things are looking very bleak for Malachi, and he could be one of the biggest busts at quarterback in recent memory, but I hope he figures it out. So yeah, today we talked about 9 transfers who have been busts in 2025 so far, and what do you guys think? Why haven't these players panned out? Who's another player who should be in part 2? And what other topic should I cover next? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out one of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.